I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, you know, El Duderino.
Welcome back, Slotcar family, and another video on Slotcardude. Today I wanted to share with you the experiences, the emotions I went through on our 12 hours endurance race. That was actually only a 7 hours race. If you nail it down, but I'll come to that in a second. It's nearly 1 week ago, actually today, it's 1 week ago, that the actual race took place. I wanted to do it close to the race so I don't forget too many things that happened, that took place, and I just wanted to describe it with you. So stick with me, here we go. Friday afternoon was like a training and setup session one more time. Of course, we know the track quite well because it's the 6-lane Carrera track of our sister club. It was in total, it was 17 teams, sorry guys, 17 teams participating, not teams, no, by far not. It was always one team off to do the race coordination and 6 teams racing at the same time. One team consisted of 2 or 3 drivers. Our team was 3 drivers, so we just split it up, the 6 lanes, between the 3 of us. That meant that my colleagues did, thankfully, lane 1 and 2. The second colleague did lane 5 and 6, and I had the big fortune of doing the 3 and 4, which is the middle ones, meaning the easy ones. I didn't ask them why they gave me the simple ones, but don't want to get into that too deep now. No, just kidding. Those guys are experts on, my teammates are experts on those rotten bastard lanes, that's what I call them, like the inside and the outside lanes. But they're really, they can focus so much on those weird lanes, it's just unbelievable, and that's also one of definitely big factor of our success. Now the race format itself was 35 minutes per lane, and this 2 times, which means we made a morning session. We started 8:30 in the morning on Saturday, with 35 minutes stints per lane, doing the 6 lanes. Then there was 1 hour of lunch break, and then in the afternoon we did another session with 35 minutes per lane. Now, the technical background was Scaleauto GT3 cars. The chassis, dang, I forgot the number. The chassis that's got only the front suspension built in originally by Scaleauto GT3 cars. But for this race, only the Porsche 991 or the Audi R8 were allowed as a body. The whole race on foam tires with a minimum ground clearance. They measured twice during the race, which means they just made a break, unannounced, checked the ground clearance on the cars, and of course they checked the cars in the beginning and after the race. There was a minimum weight for the body, and the motors were handed out by the organizers. They were originally wrapped, so you just had to put on the pinion and solder it to the cables and screw it into your motor. That happened still on Friday evening. Saturday morning, again 8 o'clock, the track opened. You were not allowed to touch the cars after you soldered in the motors Friday evening. You were only allowed to do like a 2-minute test run with the cars to see if everything works, if you soldered it in correctly. Saturday morning you had half an hour to adjust yourself to the track with any car, but not the race cars. 8:30 was race start with the race cars. Now, our setup, the two guys that I raced with, they spent hours, days, weeks with that Audi R8 that we drove to find the perfect setup for us, which they did in the end. The only problem was we didn't know about it until we went into the race, deep into the race, because Friday evening was kind of, it's okay. The car runs okay, the lap times were okay, but we were not close to like top 3 or anything like that. So my feelings going to the race on Saturday morning were very, very mixed. Thinking of, okay, let's do this. Actually, this is gonna be torture because you can't keep up with the top guys. Just do it, just make your race, just see that you can have a fun day with the guys. You know, this kind of mental setup, that's how I went to the race at least. Saturday morning, we already knew our starting lane, which was lane number 6, because the lanes were actually drawn. We didn't do a qualifying. This time, race setup out of our control. They decided to just draw the lane that you start in. And then of course you've got the standard sequence like 1, 3, 5, 6, 4, 2 for the lane swap. So we started at 6, which is the worst lane on this track, the absolutely worst lane. I mean, there's a difference of like half a second per lap with the good guys running the middle lanes to the good guys running the number 6 lane. Now, our guy starting on 6 was one of the good guys for lane number 6. He was actually one of the top ones, which we found out later on, but again, I'll come to that. We started the race, and of course we were last because, I mean, you can't win anything just going on that lane number 6. But he was consistent, he didn't drop out a lot, so all good, but still the feelings were not too like, yeah, what a race. Not really. Then the next lane was number 4, which was my starting lane or my first lane. So I went up there saying, just do this, focus, concentrate, do your race, just get up there and just race, you know. Which I did in the end, but I was so nervous, I dropped out like 6 times within my 35-minute stint. And I thought this was one of the worst stints I ever did in my life. I was devastated. I was like down on my knees, literally. Yeah, I was just not very happy at all. Then it was lane 2 and 1. And this guy just blew it off. I mean, he was literally keeping up with the fastest lap times. He was keeping up with hardly falling out, dropping out at all. And this stint was just like the wake-up call for me, because after 2 and 1, it was again lane number 3. Now, lane number 3 was a killer to me in the preparations because I just couldn't get it sorted out. I just couldn't get the flow. I just couldn't get the rhythm. Although I know the track, it's a simple lane setup. I just couldn't get the flow, you know. I just didn't feel right. So I was up there again, knowing that we caught up dramatically already and started my stint. And for what reason ever, somebody flipped a switch in my brain because I was running like really, really well. Now, I noticed by everything that was going on around me that all other lanes kept falling out, dropping out so many times during my stint. It was like literally every 30 seconds there was a lane call for a car to be put back in. So I thought to myself, well, just reduce the speed for like 1/10 or 2/10 per lap, but stay on lane, don't drop out, because that's where you gain or catch up most of the time and most of the laps, which meant in the end that I dropped out twice within my 35-minute stint, which is like close to nothing, and we caught up laps like there was no tomorrow. Not because I was so fast, it was simply because the other ones kept falling out, and I just stayed in lane. You know, I just did my thing. And then there was again lane number 5 as our last lane, and at the half-term results, we were second. And we just couldn't believe it, because everybody thought we were doing such a crap job, you know, each and every driver on his own. We found out that actually the number 6 lane that we started, we did second most laps on that. The number 2 and number 1 lane also second most. To my surprise, the number 4 lane that I started with, where I was devastated, I was dropping out so much, I did second most laps of all of the teams. So no wonder we were second. Now, of course, we also had the advantage that another very strong team had a small technical problem, nothing big. They were third at the half-term break, and like only 6 laps behind us, and they had far better lap times than we did, especially on the quick lanes like 3 and 4. I couldn't keep up. Our car just couldn't keep up with that speed. So to make the story short, we kept our speed, we kept our pace, we focused on just dropping out like 2 or 3 times each stint within the 35 minutes. That's what all 3 of us managed in our second turn. So we became third in the end. Basically, from half-term, we focused on just defending third place.
Here we are trackside already. This is one of the marshal posts right in front of me, and we are still in free practice before the 12 hours race. That's a second angle or a second place for a marshal. I didn't record during the race because everybody was too busy. We had to either marshal or drive. So that's why all those sequences are taken at free practice, which took place Friday afternoon. And as you can see, the 6 lane is a very interesting track, but the outside and inside lane are absolute beasts because they are completely different. And I was really lucky that my co-drivers took care of the outside and inside lane. Here is a little presentation of the cars, of the actual race cars that took place. One car was still missing. That was after tech check, so to say. Of course, all the cars were checked so that they would be within the rules and regulations. As you can see, there is Porsche, there is Audi R8, the newer version, the older version, and Porsche is all over. It was very interesting because first and second were Porsches, third was this beautiful yellow and white beat up Audi R8, already beat up because that was our car. Here it's the 7 cars. On top right, you see the Gulf livery. That was the car that was missing when I took the first video. And again, another perspective, another view of the 6 lane track. Few already testing start sequences, opening laps, things like that. So really, really a good preparation took place from all drivers. This was very, I wouldn't say professional, but very high level. Here, this is before the start of the first stint. The only process or the only picture that I could take at the race. And here we have already the standing after the first 3.5 hours. Again, as mentioned, this was only a 7 hours race in total, but with all the lane changing and so on, it took us 12 hours, and of course a 1 hour break, lunch break. And this is after race. These were my two co-fighters with me, thankfully taking care of the outside and inside lane after the award presentation for third place. Here we have the more beat up Audi and the trophy.
So it was a pretty intense, emotional roller coaster ride, I would call it, but absolutely worth it. I mean, my two team buddies were just unbelievable. They were fighting like idiots, like me. First of all, with themselves. Secondly, with the track. Third, with the car. But it was a fun race. It was a lot of banter going on, thank God. It was a lot of fair driving, which means if you were catching up to another car that was next lane to you, they would let you pass. They would even tell you, like, wait for the main straight, I'll get off the throttle for like a tenth of a second so you can pass. When you were like lapping guys, they would tell you in advance that they would let you pass. So it was a very, very fair driving, and that is also one major point, that you don't have to fear being knocked out by some young guns just going for it, although they're already 10 laps down. It is, as it's the only race in Austria, the biggest race in Austria at the moment. 7 teams participating is a good thing. There were 2 teams from the Viennese area, and the rest is out of our area. It was big fun. We're looking forward to next year's race. Out of the 4 races that already took place, we were third for 3 times now, nearly in a row. So actually we're working on getting second, at least. We'll see for next year. Again, there's a lot of prep going on. We had like 8 pairs of tires that we tested, that we prepared and tested, focused down to 3 pairs. There were no rules and regulations that had to be, that were, violated. There was no problem with ride height of any team, also not in the tests in between or in the checks. So as you can see, a very fair race, a lot of fun. And now coming back to that 12 hours, for those of you who have calculated already, it actually was only a 7 hours race, so 6 lanes time 35 minutes. Doing this twice, that's exactly 7 hours. The rest is just changing lanes, swapping lanes, and all the time in between where, of course, cars deslotted and so on. So this was sorry guys, this was my short, well actually it's not that short, this was my short catch up of our 12 hours race. Just to let you know what goes on, there's a lot going on in your head if you drive for 35 minutes. You try to stay focused, you try and stay concentrated. You still look a little to the left and right, what's going on around you. If you can manage watching your lap times to see how you do, or maybe to push a little more or to get off the throttle a little more. Again, a lot going on if you race for 35 minutes plus per lane. This was it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed this little report of mine. Hopefully it wasn't too long for you. And of course, as always with Slotcardude, don't forget There's more to come. If you like this kind of content, please leave a like. If you want to get informed when I issue new videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel. It's free of charge. Leave comments, share, tell others. Just feel free to stroll around in my channel, ask questions, all slot car related. You ask them, you get an answer. No problem.